This is the presentation for topic 4 from Econ 3. What we're going to be looking at in this presentation is monopoly market structures. The last presentation looked at the opposite of this, something we call perfect competition. So let's first of all get across what a monopoly is. A monopoly is a market structure where one firm dominates. So it's where one firm has the majority of the market share in that particular market. Let's get across what this will mean in this particular market. It will mean that customers have very limited choice. There's often only one product people can buy in this marketplace. If they don't buy from this company, they might not be able to buy this particular good or service. What this means is the monopoly is a price maker. Because they in effect are the market, they can charge the price that they want for their products. What this often means is the business can actually achieve supernormal profits. So because people are often, let's look at something like water supply. People view water as a necessity. You've only got one choice, Yorkshire Water. That means potentially they can exploit their power and charge you a very, very high price. This will give them high supernormal profits. Let's think about some other of these problems of, these characteristics of the monopoly. What often enables the monopoly to build up and keep their market power is high barriers to entry and exit. So these are things that stop new firms from coming into the market and competing with them. It could be things like high setup costs, high infrastructure setup costs. It could just be a case of the business has got a fantastic brand image or very high economies of scale, which prevents new firms from entering and competing with them. It could even be legal barriers that actually stop firms from setting up in this marketplace. Right, what I want to do now is to think about the diagram that goes with monopoly. So we'll label the axes with Q. Vertical one will have price, revenue, and costs. Okay, now because a monopoly is the market, they will have an average revenue line, which is also the demand line, that is downward sloping like this. The idea is the business will have to keep lowering price to sell more and more of the product. This will mean as output increases, the marginal revenue will have to fall. So we've got our revenue lines on this diagram. What I want to add now are the cost curves that go with this. So what we draw first of all is our average total cost line. We know our marginal cost line will cut ATC at the lowest possible point. This is the supply line. Right, now we've got all these different curves, we've got to try and work out what the heck this graph is showing us. Now, if we assume our monopoly is a profit maximizer, they will produce to the point where MC equals MR. That's this point here. So they will provide Q1. Okay, now, because they're a profit maximizer and they're a price maker, they will not charge a price. Here, for example, they will charge a much higher price. The business will work out what people are willing to pay for Q1, and we can see that it was based on the demand line. So the business will charge P1 for Q1 output. Now it's going to go down this Q1 line to this point here. This is the average total costs when they produce Q1. The difference between P1 and this point, let's label this P2, measures the supernormal profit achieved by this business. So that is the supernormal profit levels. Okay, now if this was a competitive market where we were achieving static efficiency, we know people would pay a much lower price. What I'm going to do is indicate this point as being the magic point where we want things to be. If we had a competitive market, people would consume Q2 and pay P3. This point's wonderful, because at this point here, we've achieved productive efficiency and allocative efficiency, or what we call static efficiency. So in other words, that's the efficient point we'd like the market to be at. Okay, we can see that people are paying much higher than this. Now what this raises is a problem that we call the dead weight loss, which is this triangle here. Okay, now what this area represents is the underconsumption in this market. We can see that people would like Q2 and pay P3, but they're going to get P1 and Q1. So the difference between Q2 and Q1 measures the dead weight loss. It measures the underconsumption in this market, or satisfaction people could have got that they can't get because of underproduction by this monopoly. Let's think now about the good and bad points about monopoly. Very, very common essay question, is a monopoly a good or a bad thing or not? Let's focus on the bad first of all. These are the things that the diagram indicated. Little chance of static efficiency. Okay, we saw that the business profit maximised before the allocatively efficient point, so they're going to underproduce the product. That means there'll be a dead weight loss. We also know that the business, because they don't need to achieve it, will not achieve productive efficiency. Business has got two ways of increasing profits. They can cut their costs or they can raise their price. For a monopoly, it's far easier to raise your prices. So what this will mean for customers potentially is low economic welfare. They've got no choice but to buy from the monopoly. They're probably going to face high prices and low quality. So looking at this here, it seems that customers get a raw deal from monopoly. It all seems to be in favour of the monopoly. But there are some good points. Okay, potentially, well, as we've already identified, the monopoly is able to make high supernormal profits. You never know, this monopoly might decide to reinvest this money back into the business. That might improve the quality, the choice for the customer. It might lower the cost of production. This might benefit the customer, but this would assume that the monopoly wants to keep its customers happy. If they're a profit maximizer, they will probably not want to raise dynamic efficiency. Other benefits. We've got what we call the natural monopoly argument. Okay, now there are some markets where the setup costs are that high or the fixed costs are that high, it's far better for that service to be provided by one company. For example, water supplies. I don't think any economist would advocate true competition in the water market. So what that would mean would be competing reservoir systems, plumbing, piping systems into your homes. That'd be such a massive duplication of resources that many people argue it shouldn't be allowed. Same goes with railway networks. We don't want 3 or 4 different sets of competing railway lines going from Huddersfield to Leeds. Setup costs would be that high, most businesses would fail. So sometimes it's far better for one company to provide a product, which will mean a monopoly. Other good points. Potentially very high economies of scale. Okay, now we know a firm in perfect comp will achieve a productive efficiency because they have to be competitive. Monopoly doesn't. Okay, but because their output is so high, they can still potentially charge lower than a firm in perfect competition. Let's imagine our firm in perfect competition is at 0.1. That means they can charge P1 and offer Q1. They're being productively efficient. Our monopoly will operate on an entirely different cost curve to this. It might be down here. So what we can see is a monopoly can potentially charge a much lower price at P2 and offer a greater quantity due to more economies of scale. This means our monopoly could even be here, charge P3. They're not being productively efficient, but they're still doing better than what a firm in perfect competition could do. So we've got some good benefits of a firm in perfect competition, a monopoly even, I beg your pardon. Now I want to add one more good thing and one more bad thing of this, and this is both linked to price discrimination. Okay, now because a monopoly is a price maker, because they are in effect the market, they can discriminate against different types of customers. So for example, some people might be willing and able to pay a higher price than another customer, that might mean they do pay a higher price. Clearly that's bad for people who pay a higher price. But for other customers, generally this goes in favour of the elderly or students or people on low incomes. These people might face a lower price because of price discrimination. Now what we have with price discrimination are three different types. We have first degree, second degree, and third degree. First degree is what we've been talking about. It's when different people are charged different prices to other people. It could be because of their age or their location. It could be the time of year. Second degree discrimination is when different types of people pay different prices. This could be adults paying more than children. It could simply be that men pay more than women or vice versa. Third degree discrimination is where people pay different prices in different markets. Okay, so it could be the case that one monopoly might charge people in London a higher price than people in Yorkshire for the same product because they're willing and able to pay more in London. And that is the end of monopoly.